Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles. This is our WWE show and I'm riding solo this week. First off, we're going to get right into it. It's a packed show. Lots to recap, so sorry about that. First off, we have John Cena coming out announcing that he's going to go have surgery. Basically, he'll be gone for 4 to 6 months. Introduces Daniel Bryan. Stephanie McMahon comes out, tries to rationalize, throws Daniel Bryan out of the ring. Very reminiscent of her father Vince and Stone Cold in their interactions when Stone Cold was on the rise to his championship. After that, we have nice hot opener. Sets the bar for everything to go that will go on later on. Next, we have the first match of the night, a rematch from SummerSlam, Damien Sandow versus Cody Rhodes. Very solid match. Cody picks up the win again. I see it building towards a match at Night of Champions with the briefcase on the line where Sandow actually wins. If not, why do this? You know? But I see Rhodes picking up this win, Sandow winning at Night of Champions to keep his briefcase. Rhodes looks strong. Then they move apart to deal with their other things. Next we have Paul Heyman coming out. Basically the gist of it was, CM Punk, I want you to apologize and I'll accept you back because I'm a magnanimous friend. Pretty decent. Paul Heyman, anytime he talks on the microphone, he's an absolute genius. I mean, of course I'm going to agree with that. This was pretty straightforward. Again, another thing setting the bar for things to come later on. Next we have the Funkadactyls versus Layla and AJ Lee. Funkadactyls are starting to get a push based off of the Total Divas show. Maybe they're going to be the stars coming out of it. I honestly thought it was going to be the Bellas, and that's what they seem to focus on. The fans seem to be getting behind the Funkadactyls, though. Maybe it's because they're the most realistic of anybody portrayed on the show. The only problem with it is I really am getting confused with their real names and their wrestling names, because they're not a team that are two women that I particularly cared too much about before the show. So they should have kept them gimmick names on the show. But that's a different story for a different time. Now, the Funkadactyls pick up the win. Again, like I said, I think they're getting a push off the Total Divas. Which, talking about pushes, our next match of the night is a guy that tweeted some negative comments about the way that Triple H treated Daniel Bryan at the pay-per-view at SummerSlam, and that's Dolph Ziggler, and he's going to go 3-on-1 with the Shield. Shield pick up a win. I was a little bit worried that Ziggler would Superman and win this one somehow, but I think it's right that the Shield should win 3-on-1. I mean, they haven't been pushed that far down the ladder. You got 3 champions, so they should beat any one man. I don't care who it is, and that comes into play again later. A lot of setup, a lot of really good action going on this show. I think this was a really good put together show, and everything seemed to fit into its place. Now, something that didn't fit happened after our next match. We had Alberto Del Rio versus Sin Cara. And before we talk about what didn't fit, or what I think is going to be a weird fit, Sin Cara botches a move really early, sprains his finger, dislocates his finger, breaks his finger, whatever he did. Immediately calls for the ref to end the match. Alberto Del Rio, visibly pissed off, looks to be attacking him, so much so that the ref is pushing him into the corner. There's real life heat between the two, going back to their days in Mexico. A dislocated finger, I understand it's very painful. They could have quick finished the match. He could have tapped to a cross arm breaker on the other arm. So I get where Del Rio's coming from. It is live TV. I mean, we've seen guys tear their triceps, tear their quadriceps, blow knees out, and continue matches. But on the other end, only he knows how much he's hurt. The thing that I'm really thinking now is Sin Cara's got to go. I mean, a guy like Rey Mysterio, who's built up his reputation and after years and years and years of taking insane bumps and moves, starts becoming injury prone, you can live with. A guy like Sin Cara, who's never got his footing in WWE and keeps getting injured, you can't. I don't know what they're paying him, but whatever it is, he's not bringing any new views to the screen. He's not bringing anything into the table that a guy like Evan Bourne can. My opinion, I think it's time that Sin Cara gets released, and I hate to say that. I don't want the guy to lose a job because he's injured. The guy's way too injury prone. You can't count on him. What are you going to do? Build a big storyline around him, and then he breaks a pinky finger and he's out? You know. The interesting thing happened after this match, however. Even more so than that, if you would believe it. We had the returning Ricardo Rodriguez and his new client, Rob Van Dam. Who would have thunk it? Really weird pairing. I think it's just because of Van Dam's popularity, they wanted to hotshot him into a title feud, which is good because he's only going to be around for a limited amount of appearances. Get the best out of him. Now, whether they put the belt on him or not, that's a different story. It is one of the few belts he hasn't won there. The World Heavyweight Championship and the U.S. Championship, I believe, are the only two that he hasn't held. He hasn't held the Unified Tag Championships, but he has held versions of the WWE Tag Championships, which is basically what it is. Interesting to see how this goes forward. I really hope they ain't riding together because both of them could easily get popped for a piss test if they ride together. But I hope it works out well. I do like Rob. Ricardo Rodriguez is someone that's very interesting. I like the idea of a face manager. I like the idea of managers coming back into this. And speaking of managers, we have a great manager, one of the great all-time workers in the business, Zeb Coulter and his guys, the Real Americans, taking on the Primetime Players, who got turned face with no explanation. Now, we all know why they're face. It's because Darren Young admitted that he is a gay man. I would have liked to show them do something where they showed the turn. Maybe the Real Americans did something. However, the Primetime Players pick up the win. I want to talk about something that has nothing really to do with this match. And something that really impressed me on WWE's part. They did not even mention Darren Young coming out of the closet. They treated him just like he was anybody else on the show. Now, he did get a lot more spots than he normally does in a match, which it's smart of them to do. Darren Young is a good worker. He's someone that they could put up for that community, that the young gay kids, gay adults, lesbians, whatever your sexual preference is, you have someone to look up to, and you got a guy that's a solid worker. I think you could put some of that on him, and I like the fact that they are face, that they've got the win. I really enjoyed the fact that they didn't mention it, that he's just another wrestler on the show, because all in all, folks, and I don't want to get on the soapbox because really everybody's beliefs are their own beliefs. I think it's awesome that a guy can come out and say, I'm gay, and it really doesn't matter. Because it really doesn't matter. I don't care. You don't care. Some of you might care. But it doesn't matter to me. Am I going to boo Darren Young because he's gay? Am I going to cheer him because he's gay? No, I'm going to boo or cheer him because he's a good wrestler. Same thing with guys like Chris Kanyon, Pat Patterson. Pat Patterson's one of the greatest wrestlers that's ever wrestled. Chris Canyon's a guy I'm a huge fan of. Sadly, his life ended because of some pressures that he had. But hopefully Darren has a different route. Kudos to them for not making a big deal. I was really scared that they would go and do Vince McMahon's version of gay, which is Adrian Adonis or Goldust or Over the Top. And I like the fact that he's just a normal guy. Just something that impressed me. Kudos to you, WWE. I hope you treat him the same going forward, that he's just a normal guy. Now, coming off of that, I'll get right into our question of the week. The question of the week last week was, what was your favorite SummerSlam match? Now, we have a couple from our friends here. First, from our friend Handsome Pat Fannin. Mankind versus Stone Cold versus Triple H, SummerSlam '99. I believe that was the Highway to Hell match. Was it? Correct me if I'm wrong, but Jesse Ventura was the referee. I thought it was an awesome match. I thought it was one of the matches that brought Triple H into the main event picture, wrestling two solid set main eventers there. Great match though. Good pick, very good. It's one that in mine, when I get to mine, it came down to there was a few, and that was in the top 3 or 4, but it didn't make the top. Now our other answers from our friend Closure Adonis, and he has Shawn Michaels versus Triple H 2002. Michaels proved he was still a showstopper after 4 years. 4 years after that great match. Another great match. I believe that was a street fight, if I'm wrong. I might be wrong. I think that was the unsanctioned street fight, just to see if Shawn could come back. Very good match, very well worked. Anytime you have those two guys, Triple H is an awesome wrestler that people don't give enough credit to. Shawn Michaels, one of the greatest of all time. I thought it was awesome. Great pick. Mine is a little bit older. I was really torn between two matches. Both of them involved Bret Hart. The one I picked, though, is 1992. British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith versus Bret the Hitman Hart for the Intercontinental title. Just the whole thing, the build-up, the spectacle, the fact that it's in England, Davey Boy gets a big win. They both stay face. I thought it was a very well worked match. Very close second is 2 years later, '94, the steel cage match with Bret Hart versus Owen Hart. Both good, but Bret versus Davey just gets the little bit above it, and that's my all-time favorite SummerSlam match. Now, coming off of that, and kind of the reason I wore this shirt, if you've read the dirt sheets, there's rumors that Paul Heyman will be bringing up another Paul Heyman guy, or potentially a girl. The simple question is, who would you like to see as the new Paul Heyman guy? Could be a guy on the roster, could be a guy in NXT, could be a guy that doesn't even have a job yet, or a girl. Let us know what you think. Hit us up on Facebook, hit us up on Twitter, put it down where? Down in the comments. And if he does, for some reason, next Monday he names that before this, I will make sure I name someone other than the person he names. But interesting things going on, especially if it's a Paul Heyman girl. There's some really solid picks, if you've been watching NXT, that could fill the bill. Next, we're going to have another punishment match, The Big Show versus The Shield. Going right back into the show. Sorry, bad segue, guys. This is another punishment for shows sticking up for Daniel Bryan through his Twitter, blending real world into gimmick, blending the storyline, making it all one thing. Another Shield win. Shield had a little bit of a harder time with the Big Show, as they should. Something I mentioned on Twitter, if you're a follower of mine, or of ours, you've seen this. I do most of the tweeting for our show. Show's trimmed down a lot. He's lost weight. He looks focused. He looks intense. When Show comes and he's trimmed and he's in shape and doesn't have nagging injuries, he is a sight to be seen. It's one of the most impressive sights in the history of wrestling, on par with Andre the Giant. I mean, the guy, when he's at his best, it's just amazing. Now, he's not one of my favorite wrestlers. He never has been, probably never will be. I have a ton of respect for a guy that probably should have been in the business for 5 years, who's made a 17-year career out of it, and stayed relatively high on the card. I don't like how they use him sometimes, but when he's at his best, like Monday night, I mean, he's impressive to watch. It's just the spectacle of a guy that huge moving that fast is just amazing to me. And I like this. I'm a real big fan of the Shield. I like the fact that they're being booked strong, somewhat connected to the corporate people. We'll talk about that in a bit more. Next, we have CM Punk comes out, eviscerates one of the fans that was booing him. I don't know why or what he said that set CM Punk off, but basically Punk told him that he was a fat fan and to step into the ring and he will show him why he should never boo him again, which gets tremendous applause from everybody else. Paul Heyman comes out, mentions the fan as well, tells Curtis Axel to get his hands taped up, that he's going to get in a fight. We got CM Punk and Curtis Axel fight. No actual match here. CM Punk getting the upper hand, eventually hitting to go to sleep onto the steps, which was, wow, brutal. I really enjoyed this interaction. I think this will do nothing but pull Curtis Axel up a little bit in his standing with the company. I did dig it. I enjoyed it. Of course, the fan interaction was amazing. Paul Heyman and CM Punk, both amazing. Curtis Axel is going to get better and better the more he hangs around and works with people like this. I hope the best for him. I really do. I know on our shows that Gary's here, I give him crap just because Gary's a huge fan and I like to give Gary crap. But I hope the kid does real well. Now, another younger talent that's a third generation star comes up in our next match, his first match on Monday Night Raw. Well, not really, but as his character, Bray Wyatt versus R-Truth. Basic squash match, destroys R-Truth, has a very awkward looking ender. I forget what he calls it. I think it's Abigail's Curse or Abigail something. If I'm wrong, you know to put it in the comments, correct me, let me know the real name. But it's basically a swinging flatliner, if you want to say. It's hard to explain. Kind of awkward looking. I think I know what he was going at, but I think he thought in his mind to stop in the middle. He starts in the NXT. He would whip him into the corner and bring him out by dancing with him before hitting the move. And it looked like he kind of did that and then thought to himself, I can't do that because of Fandango, and had to switch gears quickly. Good match, good way to put Bray Wyatt as a threat. I mean, R-Truth is a solid guy. He's someone the fans are behind, so it's another, again, with the Kane match and this match, showing that R-Truth is a force to be reckoned with. Now, another force to be reckoned with, we have the Usos versus 3MB. Really solid match. I thought it got decent timing. Usos pick up the big win. It's been mentioned before, but I agree with what people say. I'd like to see a match that has the Usos for a four-way for the tag titles at Night of Champions, the Usos, the Primetime Players, Show and Henry, and the Shield. I think it'd be a great match. If you want to take one out and substitute the Real Americans, maybe for, I don't know, you can't, I'd say you'd have to substitute them for the Primetime Players, but something like that would be fun. It'd be a way that the Shield could hold the championship without losing to a monster team like Henry and Show. In my opinion, I really like what the tag division's coming up, and got a new tag team coming in, the El Matadors, or something close to that, look like, which is basically Epico and Primo, if you guys didn't know, repackaged. I hope they do well. They're both really good workers. When they were in FCW at the time, I got to see them a few times, and they were wearing masks at the time, and their ring work was a lot different than what they eventually became in WWE. So hopefully they go back to that style a little bit, and that's why they did this change. But the tag division's looking up. Very happy about that. Now, coming off of that, our next match of the night is probably the worst placed match of the night. We have Wade Barrett versus The Miz. Fandango eventually gets involved. The crowd was just dead for this. I mean, even the Usos versus 3MB, you had Usos get a good reaction. The Miz is getting a terrible reaction. They need to end the face run. I mean, he's not getting over as a face. Fandango got over more for attacking The Miz, and The Miz got over ever in the match. But it brought the crowd down just so they could be brought right back up on the roller coaster with what they called was the Randy Orton's coronation. We had all the superstars standing on the stage, the Shield guarding the ring, Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, and they brought out Randy Orton. Triple H takes about 10 minutes to talk about why he screwed Daniel Bryan. He did it for this, he did it for that, he did it for The Rock. You know, just random babbling on and on. not bad. Reminds me back to when Triple H was the champion, and he would have the 15-minute diatribes to start every show. But, you know, it eventually brings out Daniel Bryan coming out in street gear, which I thought was a nice, subtle touch. Made it look like, you know, he's not geared up and ready to wrestle. Comes out, gets attacked by the Shield a few different times, eventually gets in the ring, gets RKO'd, and that's how they end the show with the McMahons, Triple H, and Orton holding their hands up high, signifying maybe a new corporation, or whatever they want to call New McMahon Helmsley era, or whatever they want to call it. Thought it was good, nice way to end it. Like I said about it in the beginning, very reminiscent of the Steve Austin storyline and his ascent to the top. Daniel Bryan's having that same sort of ascent. Now, it's one thing I did want to mention, and they got me, they really did. I was live tweeting during SummerSlam, and it pissed me off. It really did. It drew me in and made me angry. And then I took a day, and I sat back and I thought about it. I said, wow, they got me. They really got me. They drew me in. But then when I thought about it, they're going to build Daniel Bryan to be seen as equal or seen as replacement. And to put this in the historical context for everybody, Austin 316's speech happened a year and a half before Stone Cold Steve Austin became world champion. The night after the 316 speech, people were at Monday Night Raw wearing homemade Austin 316 shirts. The shirts became a phenomenon. He built and built and built, and finally when he broke through, he became what everybody knows now as the Stone Cold Steve Austin, which he always had in him, just like Daniel Bryan has always had in him, this quality. And now, just remember this, be patient, because this could be a 6-month arc, it could be a 2-month arc. This could take us all the way to WrestleMania, where Daniel Bryan has to win the Royal Rumble to get a title shot. But he will eventually get there, and when he does, it's going to be so much more worth it than what it was the other night. The other night would have been a great moment. It would have been the Benoit Eddie Guerrero moment. But going this route, it could be the Steve Austin moment, and we got that next megastar ready to explode. And going into that, basically, went off the rails a little bit tonight. Sorry, folks. We're going to go right into our rating system. Now, if you've watched the show before, you know what this is. We got a 1 to 5 scale, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. 1's a Great Khali, 2's a Heath Slater, 3's a Randy Orton, 4's a CM Punk, and 5 is Daniel Bryan. I'm going to give this a solid 4. CM Punk. Thought it was a good overall show. The Barrett and Miz match probably drug it down a bit. The Sin Cara debacle definitely drug it down a bit for me. Overall, great show. Overall, I liked the storyline. I liked how everything seemed to build. Everything on the show seemed to have a reason, which is good. I like that better than the throwing together, let's put Cesaro out there with somebody. But overall, a great show, a 4, giving it a CM Punk for the show. Basically, that's all I got to say about that. My name is George Coles. This has been another episode of Heel Heat.